and Tego TV. So if you have your mobile phones or tablets or any other devices, even if you're out of the country, you can tune in online and you can see all of the programs on IBN. This program, if you have a completely new to it, it's a program that is designed for you, the viewers out there, with regards to technology. What we try to do here, we try to break down all the technologies that's happening locally, regionally, and internationally into simple layman terms, layman terminologies, give explanations in terms of what's happening. And, of course, we invite your interaction. So sometimes we open up the phone lines and we take your calls. Now, tonight's topic is going to be dealing with artificial intelligence. Now, if you have been looking at this program when we restarted the season, when we started this actual series in October of last year, we did speak a little bit about different types of technology, and I did touch into artificial intelligence, and I did say that I will be doing a series of explanations on what artificial intelligence or what AI is all about. Now, for some of you, I'm quite sure that you would have heard that buzzword in the media, in television, in radio, in a newspaper. It's just a buzzword. Some of you, the younger ones, might be familiar with it. Some of the older ones, you might not be too familiar with it, or it might be a technology that you hear about. What is it? What is it all about? Is it something that I should worry about? Is it going to be like the Terminator, where you have robots and all sort of computers taking over the world? Is it a doomsday technology? Is it a doomsday thing that's happening? Well, we will go through some of that information, okay? But let's dive straight into it. What is AI? We take a look at the first clip. It's going to explain to you in a nutshell what is artificial intelligence. Let's take a look.
What is AI? AI stands for artificial intelligence, and it's a way for computers to learn and work kind of like us. You can think of AI as a brain for a computer. Similar to how we use our brains to learn and make decisions, AI uses special computer programs to do the same thing. With AI, computers can help us with the stuff that would be really hard for people to do on their own. They can help doctors diagnose diseases, allow us to predict the weather more accurately, and even play video games. It works by using software to look at lots of information and find patterns. Just like how you can tell the difference between a dog and a cat, AI can learn to recognize things too. There are three main types of AI: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Each type learns in its own special way, but they all use lots of data to get better at what they do. AI is important because it helps us do things faster, more accurately, and sometimes even better than we could on our own. Plus, it can help us solve really complex problems that we might not be able to figure out by ourselves. With AI, the possibilities are endless. From self-driving cars to personal assistants, AI is changing the way we live and work. So the next time you hear about AI, just remember that it's like a smart brain for computers, helping us to solve big problems and do things we never thought possible.
Now, AI is not something that is new, like it just pop up out of nowhere. I'm quite sure that many of you who would have lived or who would have been born in the 50s and the 60s would have been exposed to at least a calculator. It's at school. If not at school, but out of school, after school, high school, university, as the case may be. For some of you who have been born in the 70s and the 80s, in the 70s, you will still be exposed to some type of technology. In the 70s, late 70s, we saw the advent of the personal computer. 80s, 90s is when the actual technology evolved. And the year 2000 and onwards, that is when we actually saw technology being rolled out into Trinidad. Now, someone asked me recently, a little bit about who I am. and I'll just tell you a little bit of who I am. I've been involved in technology locally for over 40 years in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, I'm that old. I have actually got into technology when technology was now being introduced into the mass market. It was a unique thing. It was in a short basket of people who would have been exposed to technology. It was not available in schools quite yet, but fortunate for me, I had the privilege to be able to be exposed to technology at an earlier age. Over that period of over 40-something years, what has happened is that I've actually evolved with technology. So as the technology would have changed, I changed with it. I've been exposed to both small technology, from simple electronics, to bigger technologies, to more elaborate pieces of technology. I do own a computer company called Customs Computing Limited. I've been in business since 1995. And I also operate a little printing company. In the aspect of technology, what has happened is that, well, this program has been on air since 2006. And we ran that season from 2006 until 2018. And what happened is that I took a break because of personal reasons, and then we came back on last year. So some of you would have heard of this program. Some of you would have been seeing this program way back when. Just today I spoke with someone, and he told me that he was an avid viewer of this program. He didn't even know we were back on. And I explained to him, yes, we're back on, but we actually started back our new season tonight. And one of the questions that I was asked is that what make me a professional person in technology? Well, I do hold a PhD in business and technology from the University of California. And technology in all aspects is my specialty. So not only computers, but I've branched off into all sort of technologies and all sort of equipment. And one of the things that I like to do is share my knowledge, and this is an avenue of being able to do that. Almost every one of you would have been exposed to a mobile phone. Some of the older ones will still be using the Me Too phones or the home phones, but almost 98% of the population, we're not talking about globally now, we're talking about in Trinidad and Tobago, would have exposure to some form of technology. So I'm quite sure that most of you would have a bank account. You will go to the ATM and you will use your card to pop it into the machine and either do a deposit, withdrawal, balance check. You would go to a point of sale system and you would use your Links card or your credit card to make a purchase. Some of you will purchase things online. And then there are those of you who have these smartphones, and generally everyone or almost everyone have access to texting, WhatsApp, email. Now, social media is one other aspect. Now, the reason I'm telling you that, almost everyone is exposed to technology in some form or the other on a daily basis. So technology is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It's part of us. It's part of what we do. It's part of our existence. What we have to do now is that we have to understand how it works, what it does for us, or how we can use it to make ease of ourselves, and how to be able to use that technology for our advantage. Now, AI is nothing new. Quite sure that most of you would have been using Google, or some of you have your smartphones or smart devices, so you'll be using Alexa, Siri, or you'll be using some of those other voice command programs. Some of the newer vehicles now have voice commands whereby you don't have to physically touch a button, you just speak and it will actually respond to you. A couple of years ago, I actually brought in one of those Google Homes, a little device that I would have put onto the desk and I would have spoken to it, and it would have been able to respond to me through connection through the internet. Now that little box didn't have any brain power, if you want to call it that. What it did, it linked to a search engine online and it would have responded to me. So for example, if I say, okay Google, what time is it? Or what is the weather like today? It will then tell me what is the weather like based on my location, what is the forecasted weather like today, for tomorrow, like that. If it's going to be sunny, rainy, what is the temperature outside, like that. Now, That is a form of artificial intelligence, but that artificial intelligence was not thinking for itself. What it was doing, it was simply linking to information that is already available. So it's linking to weather applications, it linking to different websites, and basically pulling that information at if I want to call it that, at my fingertips or on my voice command. Now, over the years, I'm quite sure that most of you use search engines, which is like Google or Yahoo or any of those search engines. We would have been sending and receiving email. We would have been posting things on social media. Now, over that span of years, what happened is that there was something called information gathering. Okay, so it's nothing that is brand new. This is something that has been in existence for years. What the technology has been doing, now we're talking about smartphones, laptops, tablets, desktops, devices that's linked to the internet. So those devices could be like your devices that run a smart home, your Google Home, or your Apple products, as the case may be. And what that does, it actually, you are able to send and receive information, but what it also does, it actually stores your information in the cloud. Now, as I said in the past, the cloud is not the sky and the cloud. The cloud is just a term that is used for data storage. Let's take a look at our next video, and that will also explain to you some of the basics of what is artificial intelligence.
Picture this, a machine that could organize your cupboard just as you like it, or serve every member of the house a customized cup of coffee. Makes your day easier, doesn't it? These are the products of artificial intelligence. But why use the term artificial intelligence? Well, these machines are artificially incorporated with human-like intelligence to perform tasks as we do. This intelligence is built using complex algorithms and mathematical functions. But AI may not be as obvious as in the previous examples. In fact, AI is used in smartphones, cars, social media feeds, video games, banking, surveillance, and many other aspects of our daily life. The real question is, what does an AI do at its core? Here is a robot we built in our lab, which is now dropped onto a field. In spite of a variation in lighting, landscape, and dimensions of the field, the AI robot must perform as expected. This ability to react appropriately to a new situation is called generalized learning. The robot is now at a crossroad, one that is paved and the other rocky. The robot must determine which path to take based on the circumstances. This portrays the robot's reasoning ability. After a short stroll, the robot now encounters a stream that it cannot swim across. Using the plank provided as an input, the robot is able to cross this stream. So, our robot uses the given input and finds the solution for a problem. This is problem solving. These three capabilities make the robot artificially intelligent. In short, AI provides machines with the capability to adapt, reason, and provide solutions. Well, now that we know what AI is, let's have a look at the two broad categories an AI is classified into. Weak AI, also called narrow AI, focuses solely on one task. For example, AlphaGo is a maestro of the game Go, but you can't expect it to be even remotely good at chess. This makes AlphaGo a weak AI. You might say Alexa is definitely not a weak AI, since it can perform multiple tasks. Well, that's not really true. When you ask Alexa to play Despacito, it picks up the keywords play and Despacito and runs a program it is trained to. Alexa cannot respond to a question it isn't trained to answer. For instance, try asking Alexa the status of traffic from work to home. Alexa cannot provide you this information, as she is not trained to. And that brings us to our second category of AI, strong AI. Now, this is much like the robots that only exist in fiction as of now. Ultron from Avengers is an ideal example of a strong AI. That's because it's self-aware and eventually even develops emotions. This makes the AI's response unpredictable. You must be wondering, well, how is artificial intelligence different from machine learning and deep learning? We saw what AI is, Machine learning is a technique to achieve AI, and deep learning, in turn, is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning provides a machine with the capability to learn from data and experience through algorithms. Deep learning does this learning through ways inspired by the human brain. This means through deep learning, data and patterns can be better perceived. Ray Kurzweil, a well-known futurist, predicts that by the year 2045, we would have robots as smart as humans. This is called the point of singularity. Well, that's not all. In fact, Elon Musk predicts that the human mind and body will be enhanced by AI implants, which would make us partly cyborgs. So, here's a question for you. Which of the below AI projects don't exist yet? A. An AI robot with citizenship. B. A robot with a muscular skeletal system. C. AI that can read its owner's emotions. D. AI that develops emotions over time. Give it a thought and leave your answers in the comment section below. 3 lucky winners will receive Amazon gift vouchers. Since the human brain is still a mystery.
Right. So what you saw there is a brief, basic version or a little bit of what AI is, and you saw the basics in terms of how you break it down. But as I said, when you talk about data being available for thinking and for decision making, that data, you will want to know where did it come from. Well, that data, that information, more than likely would have come from people like you out there who use technology. What happens is that whenever you use any type of technology on the internet or a piece of technology that is connected via the web, what happens is that that information is not just shared, but it is also stored. And when information like that is stored, what happens is that those smart search engines pull that data. So if you ask a question or you have a program as we go along, we'll be talking about programs that do certain tasks. If you ask a program to do something in particular, let's say, for example, like write a 100-word essay on a particular topic, what it does is simply scouts online, pulls the data that is available, puts it together in a readable format, and then gives you an output. And sometimes you could ask the same question, and it can give you 100 different outputs to the same question based on what it is. Now, as I said, sometimes in order for you to know where you are or to know where you're going, it is also good you have to know where you came from. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you a little video in terms of a brief history of artificial intelligence.
Hi there, and welcome back to 365 Data Science. In today's video, we'll explore AI's fascinating history. We'll cover the birth of AI as a field of study, key milestones in AI development, the AI winter and its impact, breakthroughs in machine learning and deep learning, recent advancements in natural language processing, and the rise of generative AI and large language models. Now let's briefly explore the significant advancements AI scientists have made in their pursuit of artificial intelligence. In 1950, the renowned British mathematician and computer scientist Alan Turing asked, "Can machines think?" in a scientific paper. This wasn't the first time someone had asked this question, but Turing's significant contribution was to move the discussion from theoretical and philosophical to practical and experimental terms. He described an explicit criterion, later called the Turing test, for evaluating machine intelligence. In the Turing test, a human interrogator engages in a natural language conversation with one human and one machine, both hidden from view. If the interrogator cannot reliably tell the machine from the human, the machine is considered to have passed the test and exhibited human-like intelligence. This set the stage for modern computational approaches to AI, making his inquiry into "can machines think" a pivotal moment in the history of artificial intelligence. Then, in 1956, the term artificial intelligence was coined at Dartmouth Conference, and AI became a formal field of study. Participants at the conference agreed to bring together experts interested in neural networks, the theory of computation, and automata theory to explore if machines could simulate various aspects of human intelligence. As you can see, scientists have taken inspiration from human intelligence and aimed to impart it to machines from the very beginning. Before we dive deeper, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about 365 Data Science's learning platform. If you're excited about AI and machine learning, we've got the perfect courses to get you started. Our Introduction to AI course provides a comprehensive overview of artificial intelligence, while our Machine Learning in Python course offers hands-on experience with popular ML libraries. 365 Data Science has something for everyone. Explore our full range of courses and start your AI and machine learning journey today. The AI research community has faced many challenges. The 1960s and 70s are known as the AI winter. Technology and data availability limitations reduced funding and interest in AI research. AI didn't make big headlines for decades, until 1997, when IBM's Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. Computer power surged in the late 1990s and early 2000s, and the Internet rapidly expanded worldwide. Almost overnight, the necessary ingredients were in place. People worldwide were churning out massive volumes of digital data, and computer processing capabilities skyrocketed. This dramatic shift proved to be a turning point for AI research. It didn't take long before Geoffrey Hinton co-published a paper in 2006 reviving the interest in neural networks with deep learning techniques. Deep learning neural networks are a type of AI that is inspired by how the human brain works. One needs lots of data and high computational power to run deep learning models. So, creating such a model would have been impossible a decade earlier. In 2011, IBM's Watson AI won the Jeopardy quiz show, showcasing substantial advances in natural language processing. AI was able to work with human language. In 2012, researchers at Stanford and Google, including Jeff Dean and Andrew Ng, published Building High-Level Features Using Large-Scale, Unsupervised Learning, a paper that advanced multi-layer neural nets, or deep neural networks. Their system excelled at recognizing cats. In 2017, the Google Brain team developed a fundamental scientific contribution, introducing transformers. This model was a significant breakthrough in natural language processing due to its use of self-attention mechanisms, allowing it to process data sequences, like text, efficiently. Then, just a year later, in 2018, OpenAI released the first version of its GPT series. This generative AI technology utilized transformers to build massive large language models called LLMs. This led to significant enhancements across subsequent versions and introduced a user-friendly AI chat interface, or ChatGPT, in late 2022. The field of AI has truly come a long way, evolving from theoretical concepts to practical applications that are changing our world. As we conclude our journey through AI history, let's recap the key milestones we've covered. The birth of AI as a field in the 1950s with Alan Turing's groundbreaking work. The formal establishment of AI at the Dartmouth Conference in 1956. The challenges faced during the AI winter of the 1960s and 70s. Breakthroughs like IBM's Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov in 1997, the rise of deep learning and neural networks in the 2000s, and finally, recent advancements in natural language processing and generative AI. Thank you for watching this video.
Right, so that is a little history in terms of artificial intelligence. Some of you out there who might have been in schools in the 1990s, early 2000s, at that point in time, I believe the late 90s and into the 2000s, computers were now being introduced in the secondary schools. And one of the software that was very popular in some of the secondary schools was some type of online chess. And I'm quite sure that most of you who would have gone to school around that time, you would have been exposed to Chess Master. That's a popular program, and where you actually play against the computer, chess, and of course is a very strategic program. But the mathematical algorithms that were used were actually taught in certain physics classes. And for some of you who would not have been exposed to that at all, I'm quite sure that some of you would have been exposed to other types of games, checkers and some type of programming and all that. The younger ones who maybe after 2000, you would have been exposed to smartphones around now. And the smartphones, of course you have your apps, but most of you out there who have smartphones and have some form of technology that is linked to the internet, you would be exposed to some form of applications on the devices that will allow you to not only write publications or write a paragraph or write a sentence, but it allows you to save that information and to exchange that information. And sometimes when you have to study for an exam, I know that there are people out there who actually, they don't write notes anymore. What they do, they just simply take their phone and just take a picture. They take a picture of what is on the board. So the teacher writes everything. They take a picture of what is on the board and they use that as a study picture. They go home and they save it or they print it out and then they just put it in a folder so they don't have to write notes anymore. With AI, with artificial intelligence programs, some programs, what it does, it actually listens to the lecturer or the teacher in the class. And while the teacher is speaking, it's writing notes. And that is a technology that is being implemented now in the business environment, whereby you have a meeting, and instead of somebody just sitting and writing, they simply just drop the phone, put on an AI app, and while the meeting is going on, it's recording everything and converting it to already typewritten text. And that is the technology that where we are right now. We take a little break, and when we come back, I'll be diving a little bit into how the artificial intelligence software or the artificial intelligence units are able to learn from what is available. Stay tuned.
Never too early, never too late to recharge and hydrate. Get your daily dose the right way. Grab an Oasis, now why wait? Never too early, never too late to recharge and hydrate. Get your daily dose the right way. Grab an Oasis, now why wait? The greatest, the safest, Oasis for sure. Oasis, it's purer than pure.
Fruitopia, the thing that rocks your lunchtime. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. The citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Guava, pineapple, that give me a vibe. We don't want nothing less compared to the rest. Fruitopia the best. Punch any thirst when it comes to the test. Perfect thing for my lunch. Flavors pack a punch. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. The citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Fruitopia, the drink that rocks your lunchtime.
Try our new passion fruit flavor today. Taste the passion.
Welcome back once again to IBN's Techno. I am your host, Dr. Abdul Shahan Shali Qasim, and this program is aired on Thursday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. Tonight's topic, we're talking about artificial intelligence, and if you are looking at this program, you're just tuning in, we actually went through the process of giving an introduction to what AI is. This will be a multi-part series of artificial intelligence. We're going to talk from the basics in terms of what it is. We're going to go all the way into actual examples of the technology. We're going to show you how it's implemented, some of the specialized software that is available, some of the specialized systems of AI in terms of robotics. We're going to get into that as we go along. Tonight, just to touch onto the topic and to basically give you an idea in terms of what is it, okay? Right before we went on the break, as I said, we talked a little bit about what AI is, and we spoke a little bit about the history. And now we're going to talk about how does AI learn. Let's take a look.
What is AI? Have you ever asked Siri or Alexa to play your favorite song? If so, you have been interacting with artificial intelligence, or AI for short. Today, we are going to talk more about AI. Let's start with what it is. A simple way to describe AI is that it combines computer science, large sets of data or information, and problem solving. Currently, most AI is used for automation. This could mean you encounter AI when you use customer service over the phone or online. They use voice recognition and machine learning to answer questions and respond to requests. Or in the field of robotics engineering, this could mean automating tasks that are unsafe for humans, like mixing toxic chemicals or piloting a space vehicle that is set to land on Mars. This type of AI is an example of artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. There are two other types of artificial intelligence, AGI, or artificial general intelligence, and ASI, which means artificial superintelligence. AGI means that a computer can make decisions, plan, and function similarly to humans. Many experts think that that is the direction that AI is currently headed, but it isn't there yet. ASI is still theoretical, meaning that it is not based on real life, just an idea. But the thought behind ASI is that the intelligence of computers would exceed the intelligence of humans, which would be pretty wild. Now that we are more aware of what AI is, let's discuss some pros and cons of its use. Pros: streamlines and automates repetitive tasks, saves time, saves humans from doing dangerous jobs, allows for new technological discoveries, lowers possibility of human error. Cons: very expensive to execute, potential loss of non-hazardous human jobs, huge environmental costs to maintain, can be used to plagiarize art and other online content, security risks from hackers. One of the pros of using AI is that it streamlines and automates repetitive tasks. It also saves a lot of time. AI can save humans from doing dangerous jobs and allows for new technological discoveries. AI also lowers the possibility of human error. That doesn't sound so bad. But wait, we haven't discussed the cons yet. A major con of AI is that it is very expensive to execute. We are talking billions of dollars. Another con is that it could potentially cause humans to lose their jobs. If you care about the environment, you should be aware that there is a huge environmental cost to AI. If you're familiar with AI server farms, you already know that they take up a lot of space and drain energy and water resources. AI can also be used to plagiarize art and other online content. And there's always the threat of security risks from hackers. Sounds like there's a lot to think about when you are deciding whether the positives of AI outweigh the negatives or vice versa? We have just learned a lot about AI. Here are some questions to review. True or false? As of today, ASI is purely theoretical. True. Fill in the blank. Currently, the AI technology we use is an example of ANI, which stands for Artificial blank Intelligence. Narrow. Name one pro and one con of AI use. Great job, AI experts! Whether you think that AI is helpful or harmful, it is here to stay. So, it is important to understand it and its potential consequences. Perhaps one day, you will be an innovator that finds a helpful and ethical way to use AI.
Right, so that there was a little expansion in terms of our topic tonight. One of the things that I would like to justify, as you heard in the video, AI is demanding of resources, meaning electricity. In the US, companies like Google, Intel, open source, and some of the other companies, what they are doing is that they are actually investing billions, not millions, billions of US dollars purchasing power plants. So that means that they're actually buying over the whole electrical company in layman's terms, so that they will have their own setup to generate electricity to power these main servers. Now, if you understand the concept of technology, the more thinking or the more processing of data that is required, that means that you must have bigger and bigger brains, if you want to put it that way, more computing power. And that computing technology requires more electricity. Not just electricity to run, but with technology, how it works is that the more processes, the more computation that is done, there's a buildup of heat through resistance, because that's how electricity flows through circuits. And that means now that other than you're talking about electricity to power the devices, you're looking at cooling. So you need to have some type of cooling systems that actually are used to cool, not only air condition, but sometimes they use water cooling, they use air cooling, they use a combination of different type of cooling systems to keep those equipment cool so that it do not overheat and burn. Just as human beings, for example, we can be climatized in different types of environments. Most of you know that technology, the higher end technology, the more sophisticated technology is, you want to put it into what is known as a clean room, whereby you have no dust, no sort of humidity in the air. You want to make sure that the air is purified, so you have air purification that goes in. Then you want to have a cool environment. You want to have, so that's air conditions. You want to have a nice flow of air. You might have a flow of water or flow of some type of liquid cooling that passes through the circuits to keep it cool, because the more it runs, the hotter it gets. In some cases, what companies do as well, they actually build data centers. And then they take this data center and they submerge it in a big, if you want to call it like a big capsule, and they put it under the sea. Because, well, some of you would have known, you go to the sea, we're not talking about Maracas and so on. We're talking about in colder environments in the sea, the actual ocean. Temperatures could actually not just be zero, but it could go into the minus. So the deeper you go, the colder the water is, because it has less sun penetrating that water. And what they do is that they actually build these data centers and they submerge it in the sea to ensure that it remains cool. So companies like Microsoft that run Hotmail, some of the bigger companies that run email storage or data centers where you have things stored in the cloud. Funny enough, the cloud is not only in actual buildings, but the cloud is actually under the sea, if you want to put it that way. That's a data center. And they do these things to ensure that it remains cool, because that's a form of natural cooling. So that is just one of the aspects. Now, other than a demand for electricity, a demand for cooling, a demand for storage, because you must have more and more space so these data centers can actually be set up. You're looking at more complications. So for example, the only type of chips that is available right now, you have some high-end chips that are manufactured by NVIDIA and some other companies. And these technologies are designed to handle not millions or billions, but we're talking about billions upon billions upon billions multiplied by billions of instructions in a matter of nanoseconds, okay? And because of the amount of data that is processed, that is in demand, that means that that technology is expensive. Other than the hardware, which is the physical apparatus that run the technology, you're looking at the software, the applications, and then you have the list of people that has to be paid, programmers and so on. But one of the things that I want you to bear in mind is that when it comes to technology, okay, the more information that is available to the technology, to the AI, the artificial intelligence, the more it has to be able to learn. And the more learning is available because of data that is produced, then that means now that more and more information is then likely to be available to not only the device that's learning, but to you, the end user. The other question will be, how does machine learning happen? Or how does it take place? We take a look at that video now.
Our ability to learn and get better at tasks through experience is part of being human. When we're born, we know almost nothing and can do almost nothing for ourselves. But soon, we're learning and becoming more capable every day. But did you know that computers can do the same? Machine learning brings together statistics and computer science to enable computers to learn how to do a given task without being programmed to do so. Just as your brain uses experience to improve at a task, so can computers. Say you need a computer that can tell the difference between a picture of a dog and a picture of a cat. You could begin by feeding it images and telling it, this one's a dog, that one's a cat. A computer programmed to learn will seek statistical patterns within the data that will enable it to recognise a cat or a dog in the future. It might figure out on its own that cats have shorter noses and that dogs come in a larger variety of sizes, and then represent that information numerically, organising it in space. But, crucially, it's the computer, not the programmer, that identifies those patterns and establishes the algorithm by which future data will be sorted. One example of a simple yet highly effective algorithm is to find the optimal line separating cats from dogs. When the computer sees a new picture, it checks which side of the line it falls on and then says either cat or dog. But of course there can be mistakes. The more data the computer receives, the more finely tuned its algorithm becomes, and the more accurate it can be in its predictions. Machine learning is already widely applied. It's the technology behind facial recognition, text and speech recognition, spam filters on your inbox, online shopping or viewing recommendations, credit card fraud detection, and so much more. At the University of Oxford, machine learning researchers are combining statistics and computer science to build algorithms that can solve more complex problems more efficiently, using less computing power. From medical diagnoses to social media, the potential of machine learning to transform our world is truly mind-blowing.
What is machine learning? Now that what you just saw there is a matter of using simple if-then situations to actually make a determination. So for example, if this is a cup, which it is, and it has something liquid inside of it, then I could put it in the microwave. But if this is a cup, which it is, and it's empty, then put it in maybe the dishwasher, or maybe put it in the sink to be washed. Now, what I just did there is I just simply created a scenario of identifying the product, or identifying the item. And we created an if-then situation whereby if the cup is filled, that means I'm going to put it in the microwave to hot so that I'm going to make a cup of tea or something. And if it's empty, I'm going to put it into the sink to wash. Okay? We didn't go into the questions of if the cup was dirty or clean. We just talk about if it was filled or not. And just as we can do that logic, okay, just as we are human beings who can think logically in terms of if this is the situation, this is the output, and if this is not the situation, then this is the output. So you have two doors, and based on the direction, either yes or no, we go to this door or the other door. Now, machine learning explained in approximately 100 seconds. That's a very quick run we're going to do. So we're going to do that first, and then I'm going to talk about in terms of where we are heading in terms of artificial intelligence. Let's take a look.
Machine learning. Teach a computer how to perform a task without explicitly programming it to perform said task. Instead, feed data into an algorithm to gradually improve outcomes with experience, similar to how organic life learns. The term was coined in 1959 by Arthur Samuel at IBM, who was developing artificial intelligence that could play checkers. Half a century later, and predictive models are embedded in many of the products we use every day, which perform two fundamental jobs. One is to classify data, like is there another car on the road, or does this patient have cancer? The other is to make predictions about future outcomes, like will the stock go up, or which YouTube video do you want to watch next? The first step in the process is to acquire and clean up data. Lots and lots of data. The better the data represents the problem, the better the results. Garbage in, garbage out. The data needs to have some kind of signal to be valuable to the algorithm for making predictions. And data scientists perform a job called feature engineering to transform raw data into features that better represent the underlying problem. The next step is to separate the data into a training set and testing set. The training data is fed into an algorithm to build a model, then the testing data is used to validate the accuracy or error of the model. The next step is to choose an algorithm, which might be a simple statistical model like linear or logistic regression, or a decision tree that assigns different weights to features in the data. Or you might get fancy with a convolutional neural network, which is an algorithm that also assigns weights to features, but also takes the input data and creates additional features automatically, and that's extremely useful for datasets that contain things like images or natural language, where manual feature engineering is virtually impossible. Every one of these algorithms learns to get better by comparing its predictions to an error function. If it's a classification problem, like is this animal a cat or a dog, the error function might be accuracy. If it's a regression problem, like how much will a loaf of bread cost next year, then it might be mean absolute error. Python is the language of choice among data scientists, but R and Julia are also popular options, and there are many supporting frameworks out there to make the process approachable. The end result of the machine learning process is a model, which is just a file that takes some input data in the same shape that it was trained on, then spits out a prediction that tries to minimize the error that it was optimized for. It can then be embedded on an actual device or deployed to the cloud to build a real-world product. This has been machine learning in 100 seconds.
Right, so what you saw there is a simple if-then situation. As you saw, you have different models of algorithms, which is basically a mathematical way of saying, let me be able to process information. So we might have a cup, like this cup I have in my hand, and that algorithm might say, okay, is this cup black? Is it white? If it's white, well then, okay, let's put it in intersection with white. If it's black, we'll then put it in intersection with black. And if it is white, is it a printed cup or is it a plain cup? And then it will separate the white cups, whether it be printed or not. It's simple, right? And just as we have if-then situations for almost everything, that's logic. Likewise, that's how artificial intelligence works. But think about it like this. All those processes and all those questions and all those answers being made in fractions of a second. And because those methods of thinking or those methods of processing data is done in such a so small space of time, it actually makes it look as though, wait, the device or the technology is thinking. Now, the way technology is actually heading, the direction we are going right now, is we are heading in a direction where you saw one of the clips that said Elon Musk talk about putting chips into people. And those chips will basically allow us to become a cyborg or to become superhuman or to be able to process data quicker. What it basically does, it not necessarily means you're going to process data quicker. It simply means that we might have the interface to connect to other devices or to connect to electronics or other gadgets without having actually to work with it. So for example, if you know anything about biometrics, sometimes you walk up to a device, or your phone, for example, or a computer, or some type of device, and you, in order for that device to be able to authenticate that you are you, it will ask you for maybe, let's say, a fingerprint. So everybody have a unique fingerprint. You put on your fingerprint, it scans your fingerprint, biometrics. This happens, for example, when you go for your passport or your visa or you're traveling abroad and they enter a country and they tell you, okay, look at the camera. So you look at the camera, they will take a picture of your face. And then it will tell you, put your right hand, let's scan your fingerprints. Put on your left hand, let's scan your fingerprints. So it will basically take your biometrics into the system. More complex systems for authentication might tell you, okay, take off your glasses if you have one, like me, and look at it. What it does, it scans the entire surface of your eye, and then it scans your iris, which is actually inside of the eye. And in some cases, it actually does retinal refraction and recording, because everyone's eye is different to the other person's, just as everyone's fingerprint is different to the other person. It's unique. And then that information is now stored, and it is able to be retrieved if at some point in time the information is needed or data is needed, as the case may be. And then that information is then exchanged. So for example, instead of me walking up to, let's say, a door and pulling out my phone or pulling out my remote control, so I'm going to my vehicle. I pull out my remote control and I simply press the button, it unlocks the doors, I go into the vehicle. More sophisticated vehicles now, you just simply have the key in your pocket. You walk up to the vehicle, it detects the key based on some type of signal, whether it be a wireless signal or something like that. And then it detects the key is nearby. It will then open the locks, open the doors, and if you want to call it, be ready for you to jump in. So you don't have to go and lock the door, unlock the door. You walk away from the vehicle. The vehicle detects that the signal is away from the vehicle. It locks the doors automatic and shuts down or switches off and winds up the glass or something like that. Now, that technology is available today. Think about that technology being implemented into your system, maybe a chip either in your hand or it's embedded into you. I'm quite sure that some of you might be thinking, well, you know, I looked at the Matrix, and I remember when that guy was lying down and he was in the world of the Matrix, and then he just opened his eyes and say, hey, I know Kung Fu. Well, guess what? AI can do that. It might be able to do it today, but sometime in the future, which I have done in the past, I've already spoken about it and talked about it, and it has come to pass. I've seen it. Sometime in the future, you will have a technology whereby some people might not have to go to school again. You might not have to go to school to learn basic things like maths and English. You might just have to basically take time and learn how to live. But they might have chips that is programmed whereby it's interfaced wirelessly. And a child might wake up in the morning and say, hey, I can speak 15 languages, and you want to know why, because they actually have a chip that actually is programmed to interface with the cloud to do that. Technology is such that what is being available today, that is being developed today, you can transmit electricity similar to how you would transmit a radio frequency or radio wave. You have one cell phone, you have another cell phone, you pick up the cell phone and you call someone, and you speak with them, you're in Trinidad and you speak to them in Australia. 25 years ago, somebody will be like, okay, that can't happen because I have to physically go have a physical wire. You have to have some kind of connection through some type of relay. That might be possible. Today, and something that we spoke about while we were on this program, we actually showed where you could use your smartphones or smart devices or a device like a tablet, where you could connect and you can see someone and you can talk to them at another part of the world, and you can see something that's happening live, but you're not even there, but yet you're there. So in other words, you can stay at home, you can be in a meeting in London, which is about 4 hours ahead of Trinidad, and you can be in a meeting in a boardroom from Trinidad, or you could be in a conference as part of the crowd, but you're not there, you're in Trinidad, but not 4 hours ahead or 4 hours afterwards, but you're talking about live, and you can interact with the person and so on. That technology I spoke about on Techno a number of years ago, and at that time the phone lines were buzzing. People were calling and was asking like, wow, this is so much in the future. How far along are we going to go into that? Is that something that's going to happen when I have grandchildren? And I told him no. It's going to happen maybe within a couple of months or a couple of years. But that technology is available today. The pandemic kicked in, and so many people who did not know about Zoom became aware of online learning. online school. We talk about sitting in a meeting and you have 10 people in a boardroom, but none of them sitting in the same room because everybody is at home or driving in their car or maybe lying down in their bed. But they're actually in a boardroom making decisions of what's happening in an organization. And that is where the technology have reached. Okay, so what I'm saying here is nothing that is going to be far-fetched or seem way in the future, but it's technology that has been developed right now. And imagine you're able to broadcast electricity, just like how you have electricity in your homes, but you have to actually have a physical wire running from a pole to your home through a physical wire connection coming down into a metered connection. In the future, electricity will be connecting to your home from point A to point B to point C without physical wires. And that technology is being used right now in certain parts of the Trinidad, and is being developed further so that it becomes safe. So that is something that we could look at. Now, the question will be, we have just a couple of minutes again, how exactly does AI learn? How does it develop? How does it use whatever is available to learn to be able to think? Well, the next video I'm going to show you, I might not have enough time to do the full video, but I'll show you a little start of it in terms of how AI learns. How does AI learn? Let's take a look.
Today, artificial intelligence helps doctors diagnose patients, pilots fly commercial aircraft, and city planners predict traffic. But no matter what these AIs are doing, the computer scientists who designed them likely don't know exactly how they're doing it. This is because artificial intelligence is often self-taught, working off a simple set of instructions to create a unique array of rules and strategies. So how exactly does a machine learn? There are many different ways to build self-teaching programs, but they all rely on the three basic types of machine learning: unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. To see these in action, let's imagine researchers are trying to pull information from a set of medical data containing thousands of patient profiles. First up, unsupervised learning. This approach would be ideal for analyzing all the profiles to find general similarities and useful patterns. Maybe certain patients have similar disease presentations, or perhaps a treatment produces specific sets of side effects. This broad pattern-seeking approach can be used to identify similarities between patient profiles and find emerging patterns, all without human guidance. But let's imagine doctors are looking for something more specific. These physicians want to create an algorithm for diagnosing a particular condition. They begin by collecting two sets of data: medical images and test results from both healthy patients and those diagnosed with the condition. Then, they input this data into a program designed to identify features shared by the sick patients, but not the healthy patients. Based on how frequently it sees certain features, the program will assign values to those features' diagnostic significance, generating an algorithm for diagnosing future patients. However, unlike unsupervised learning, doctors and computer scientists have an active role in what happens next. Doctors will make the final diagnosis and check the accuracy of the algorithm's prediction. Then computer scientists can use the updated datasets to adjust the program's parameters and improve its accuracy. This hands-on approach is called supervised learning. Now let's say these doctors want to design another algorithm to recommend treatment plans. Since these plans will be implemented in stages, and they may change depending on each individual's response to treatment, the doctors decide to use reinforcement learning. This program uses an iterative approach to gather feedback about which medications, dosages, and treatments are most effective. Then it compares that data against each patient's profile to create their unique optimal treatment plan. As the treatments progress and the program receives more feedback, it can constantly update the plan for each patient. None of these three techniques are inherently smarter than any other. While some require more or less human intervention, they all have their own strengths and weaknesses, which make them best suited for certain tasks. However, by using them together, researchers can build complex AI systems where individual programs can supervise and teach each other. For example, when our unsupervised learning program finds groups of patients that are similar, it could send that data to a connected supervised learning program. That program could then incorporate this information into its predictions. Or perhaps dozens of reinforcement learning programs might simulate potential patient outcomes to collect feedback about different treatment plans. There are numerous ways to create these machine learning systems, and perhaps the most promising models are those that mimic the relationship between neurons in the brain. These artificial neural networks can use millions of connections to tackle difficult tasks like image recognition, speech recognition, and even language translation. However, the more self-directed these models become, the harder it is for computer scientists to determine how these self-taught algorithms arrive at their solution. Researchers are already looking at ways to make machine learning more transparent. But as AI becomes more involved in our everyday lives, these enigmatic decisions have increasingly large impacts on our work, health, and safety. So as machines continue learning to investigate, negotiate, and communicate, we must also consider how to teach them to teach each other to operate ethically.
Right, so I see that we are out of time already. But basically, this series is going to continue next week. So if you saw part of this program, if you missed it, just remember there's a rerun on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. And you can also look at this program as a rerun streaming live on Facebook. So you can always go back to Facebook and you can look for the video. You can look for it on YouTube as well. So this is a series that we're going to be dealing with regards to AI. We're just diving into the basics, and then we're going to go into the actual applications and samples and how it works and so on. Okay, so until I see you guys next week, Thursday, right here on IBN, I am Dr. Shahan Shali Qasim, wishing you a safe, productive week. Remember, technology is not just around us, it is part of us, right? And it is here to stay. We have to know how to incorporate it into our lives and how to be able to use it for our benefit. Until, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of God Almighty be with you and your families.